What did Eleanor see in Delta's corpse that bound her to Lamb's machine? 10 years after his suicide, she revives him-hallowed, weaponized Lamb's unsealable prison. The welcome mural cracks as Big Sisterhood's truth drowns, not a choice. A failed scream, weaponized. Unsealable Eleanor's prison awakening was no accident. Welcome mural cracks as Sophia's big prototype, weaponized grief Eleanor became the first big sister, not a sculpted her choice. Sophia's scalpel split her psyche, sutured with screaming. The bond with Delta, not choice, not salvation, a failed scream turned shield. A sisterhood forged in screaming, not choice, not salvation. What does a girl become when her womb is a war? Eleanor did not choose the dark. Persephone's walls held her screams for years. They became something less than sound. A girl buried in a vault, her pain a resource. Sofia Lamb mined in silence. Subject Delta once carried her through fire. His bond was not a script but a shield, forged in the hollow between trust and duty. He did not know her name. He did not need to. Then came the injection, the failure, the scream that crystallized in her throat. Sophia's big sisterhood was no salvation. It was a spill of stolen biology, a fuse lit in a girl's marrow. Eleanor's body became a chamber for horrors Lamb could not unbuild. They were not lovers, they were not partners. A man turned monster. A child turned weapon, the first bond broken and reforged as collateral. What does a girl become when her agony is patentable? When her womb is a war, Sofia Lamb did not create sisters. She bottled a scream and bottled it wrong. The lab hums with antiseptic white noise. Delta's body lies stiff, cold, the tang of gunpowder still clinging to his hair. Sofia Lamb stares at the clock, her breath steady, the floorboards creaking under her boots. 10 years of dust will settle on this corpse, 10 years of Eleanor's grief to refine. The trigger was a gift wrapped in his own trembling hand, a muffled shot, a sister's scream cut short. When the machines were back to life, the room smells of ozone and static. Delta blinks into a world of fluorescent glare, his bones aching with the weight of borrowed time. His throat burns. His mind fractures. This is not the end. But Sophia's notes are already scrawled in red. Subject Delta, trauma vessel intact. Eleanor's bond, null. Proceed. Eleanor wakes in a fever, her skin bruised purple with power. The air shivers as she moves, her voice a chorus of broken things. Sofia watches, calculating. The formula is incomplete. The scream was bottled but the container cracked. Eleanor's body became a sieve, a weapon, no, a wound. The Big Sister program was never about salvation. It was a ledger of debts Sofia never intended to pay. The office breathes, cracked marble chokes the air. Ryan's desk, a sarcophagus of ledgers, now cradles rusted chains. Comstock's cathedral sang to the sky, this tomb whispers to the abyss. The mural, a hand reaching for Rapture, splits down its spine, as if the city itself recoiled from its birth. Sofia Lamb's knives cut deeper than flesh. The Rapture family did not nurture, it harvested. Eleanor's scream was not a beginning. It was a calculation, a body wired to transmute grief into a frequency only Big Sisters could hear. The awakening was no rite. It was a short circuit, a soul overcharged by Lamb's hunger to bend pain into power. The cult's hymns were blueprints. Every bruise, every broken child, a gear in a machine Sofia Lamb could not start, could not stop. Eleanor's eyes, once human, became floodlight stools to burn the world that made her. The price of Big Sisterhood, not loyalty, not destiny. A debt Lamb never wrote, never could erase. The program was never a ledger. It was a wound, and Rapture, it bled. Sofia Lamb dissected humanity's limits. Her journals called it symbiotic indoctrination. A lie. The Big Sister program was flesh-made gun, trauma as trigger. Eleanor was the first shell. Sophia's scalpel didn't just cut tissue, it carved obedience from suffering. The transformation wasn't rebirth, it was assimilation. Eleanor's body became a crucible for chemical horrors, adrenaline spliced with dependency, rage fused to reverence. Lamb's notes scream of perfect compliance. They scream wrong. Eleanor's awakening was a rupture, her mind fractured under the weight of 1,000 children's terror. Lamb called it a prototype, a scalable solution, but the experiment bled. The wound Sofia opened refused to close. What if becoming a Big Sister wasn't a choice, it was a prison Sofia Lamb couldn't undo? Eleanor's howl echoed through Rapture's sewers, a sound that wasn't hers. a sound that said, asterisk, I am not your weapon. I am your failure, asterisk. The program limped forward, grotesque copies of Eleanor staggering into life. Each one a testament to Lamb's delusion, that pain could be a language, and monsters could be made to asterisk love asterisk the hand that shaped them. Rapture drowned in its own screams, and the sisters danced. The cure became the wound. Lamb's lab sought to bind trauma into a weapon, to forge from pain a thing that could asterisk burn asterisk. Eleanor's mind cracked under the weight of engineered fury. Her skin hardened. Her voice became a hymn of violence. What remained of the girl who once held a teddy bear, now held a scalpel, carving answers from flesh. Persephone's walls closed around Sophia, not by force but by guilt. A cage of her own design, its cells lined with the echoes of screams shed, hope to master. The experiment bled out of control. The monster it birthed could not be unmade. Rage became Eleanor's compass. Her thoughts, once soft with wonder, now churned with static. She remembered a time before the change, but only in fragments, like a drowning victim grasping at air. The big sisterhood was not a choice. It was a wound sewn too deep to stitch. Did Lamb ever wonder if her creation would turn the knife inward? The data logs tell of failed reversals, of chemicals and electricity sparking nothing but ash. Eleanor's body was a locked room, her heart a shattered cipher. The sisters danced, but Eleanor could not join them, not truly. She was their executioner and their ghost, a weapon that forgot its purpose. A girl who became a scream and found no one left to hear her. The chamber hummed with the metallic tang of old blood. Eleanor's fingers, cold as a tomb's breath, pressed against Delta's skin. His pulse flickered weak, but asterisk their asterisk. Above them the floodlights buzzed, casting ripples of sickly amber over the ruins. A decade's silence had calcified in the air, broken only by the wet gasp of his first breath. Lamb's machines had aimed to forge a weapon from grief, but Eleanor's heart had turned the anvil to dust. Delta's hand found hers. His touch didn't sear, it asterisk remembered asterisk. The two of them, entangled in a knot no ideology could cut. Rapture's warlords saw a girl and a monster. They didn't hear the whisper between them, sound of a promise Sofia Lamb had never taught. When the factions came, torches and turrets alike, Eleanor didn't flee. She stood in the doorway, Delta's hand in hers, and let the gunfire paint the walls. Lamb, in her final tower, felt the collapse like a shattered mirror. Her notes slithered from her grip, ink bleeding into the icy floor. Shed meant to cage Eleanor in a body, not a bond. Now the city's veins pulsed with a new current, not fear, but fury. The Big Sister program had never been about choice. It had been a vault, and Eleanor had thrown open the door. In the end, the only thing weaponized was love. The temperature in the chamber dropped. Frost glittered on Eleanor's lashes. She didn't blink. Delta's fingers tightened. Asterisk, this isn't prison asterisk, she thought. Asterisk, it's the thing that can't be undone. Asterisk, outside, Rapture's spires groaned. The revolution had a face and it was laughing. The bond between Eleanor and Delta was not a choice, it was a prison. A shackle forged in Lamb's labs where trauma was not felt but calculated. She had not awakened, she had asterisk ruptured asterisk. Sophia's notes called it a cascade event, a failure dressed as transcendence. The more Eleanor asterisk remembered asterisk, the more she became. A weapon that could not be aimed, a scream without a target. What does it mean to weaponize pain when the weapon refuses to kill? Lamb's girls were engines. Eleanor was a wildfire. Delta's voice in her head was not comfort, it was code, a virus Sophia had hoped to contain. But the body has its own syntax, the mind its own detonation. They tried sedatives, chains, silence. Eleanor's hands bled from gripping the walls of her cell, not to break free but to asterisk anchor herself asterisk. To find the girl beneath the thing she had become, the thing that laughed when spires groaned. Sophia's final experiment was not a triumph, it was a requiem. And Eleanor, its unwilling cantor, sang in a language of shattered nerves and unhealable light. Suchung's scalpel met Tenenbaum's equations, a child's psyche fractured to harvest atom fire. Eleanor's scream became the algorithm's baseline. Sofia Lamb built Big Sisters to save souls. She found a tomb. Delta's bond with Eleanor was it love or another lock, no choice. Only calculus. Suchung traded neuroses for neurochemistry. Tenenbaum coded suffering into currency. The little sister's conditioning was never about rescue. It was a ledger of human capital. Eleanor's awakening tore through Rapture's ledger, a girl, not a vector. Sofia's final prison had no walls, her metamorphosis, a failed weapon, a broken key. The ethical abyss carved its name in her bones. Today, boardrooms hum Rapture's requiem. They call it innovation, they call it progress. They do not see the little sisters in the data. They do not hear Eleanor's song. Beneath every glowing number a girl waits, unfree, unforgotten. The cost of ideology is not in its creed. It is in the children it remakes, and the children it unmake. She is not a monster, she is a warning. Sofia Lamb sealed Persephone's doors in 1958, not to trap girls but to imprison herself. The experiment never sought to save, it sought to refine. Eleanor's metamorphosis was a scalpel cutting both ways, a sisterhood forged in trauma, a weapon that backfired. The big sisters were never free. Their rage was coded, their love was a script. Sofia, listening to her own creation scream, realized too late what her science had sacrificed. Not just bodies, not just choice. The capacity to heal. When the facility fell, its legacy did not. The girl who became weaponized still waits. Her scream is the echo, her existence the epitaph. Eleanor was never a weapon, she was the accident. Lamb's prison became her womb, the big sister, a failed key to trauma's vault. But what else slept in Persephone's bones when Lamb buried herself? What else did she name